Today in this video, I'm going to be breaking down the exact funnel that scaled a D2C brand from $42,000 a month all the way up to $440,000 a month in just over a year. Now, a few quick disclaimers. This was not just immediate straight line growth. There were issues with stock involved, there was a rebrand, etc. And so there were kind of like two main key periods where the first month was around $42,000 a month. And then from there, we shot up pretty quickly to about $100,000 a month within about 3 months. And that is largely thanks to this funnel essentially being unlocked. Because before that, if I'm being totally honest, it felt like we were just throwing ads at a wall. Like the volume was relentless. We were doing a higher volume for this client than pretty much any other client, trying to make it work. But no matter what, nothing just seemed to hit. Like it was just like time, like ad. And it all became close, but nothing was like good enough that we could like scale up properly. And then we hit this funnel in like, I think month 2. And from there, it just exploded because all of a sudden, like the hit rate of all our other ads just dramatically increased. And then obviously we ran into some stock issues, etc. It was around summer. Black Friday was then big, but then we scaled down towards the winter, kind of heading into a rebrand. And then from January, so I think December would have been about 70,000 in revenue. And then from January, we just exploded into, this number here is for last month, so July. From December, about 70, January 90, and then it just exploded up to 440,000. And again, this funnel here is like right at the middle of it. It's where most of the ads are going to. And it's, if this wasn't there, a lot of this growth wouldn't have been possible. Now, obviously, other disclaimers from there. There's a shit ton of other reasons why this has done well. Founder is flipping awesome. Also, the person who wrote this funnel is not me. This was my partner on the project, who's an absolute beast. Ronaldo, shout out. Nice. But what I'm going to be sharing with you is kind of the overall funnel, like the ads go into it. That's not really going to be focused. It's going to be actually on the landing page, and then the actual funnel. So with that little preamble out the way, I think that's all the disclaimers, apart from obviously take everything with a pinch of salt. Nothing I say here will guarantee any particular outcome. This is just simply sharing some raw, honest thoughts on what has been working for me. So the unusual funnel, I say unusual purely there to grab your attention, but it's a little bit unusual because what we essentially have is top funnel statics, mostly AI vids and some UGC. Honestly, until recently, it was pretty much just AI videos and top funnel statics, going straight to a listicle. And so I'll show you exactly what that is in a second if you're not already aware. But yeah, no product page really involved. Like there is a product page, but the listicle doesn't actually drive to the product page or the homepage or anything like that. Instead, just have a checkout right at the bottom. I'll explain why later, and I think why this is the case. And I know there's some people out there who say like, oh, the only reason why you might need a listicle is because you just have a shit product page. Honestly, that is probably partly true. Like the product page for this ad, for this product is not necessarily one that I like or I think is particularly optimized to the max. When we first came in, we kind of just kept it as it is, trying to drive stuff. We did some tweaking. There wasn't anything major. We're like, oh, if we just change this, the product page would be dramatically better. So instead, we tested out these different landing pages. One of them being this listicle, which just exploded. And I'll go into reasons why, although I think you can say you don't need listicles if you have a brilliant product page. Again, there is nothing black and white, right? And I think in this case, the main difference is with a product page, you cannot control the awareness, so to speak, that you want to meet someone at, right? Because immediately when you land on a project page, it's very clear that this is 100% just a product here that you're trying to sell to, which is fine, especially as you're kind of pushing more on the UGC style stuff and like regular things. But what really exploded for us here is the more top of funnel style statics. And I'll give some examples of that in a second. To the listicle, which is not really possible. It was a lot harder to do with a product page, right? And I'll explain why in a second. So let's actually go into the kind of actual structure of this. And for the headline format, it was pretty simple. It was X reasons why benefit after action plus interesting product type. So what I mean by interesting product type is rather than just giving the name of the product like a lot of people do, in which case this is kind of more similar, a little bit more similar to product page, right? 5 reasons why. Your classic would be like that most people do is like 5 reasons why this type of person loves this brand, loves creatine bulk powder, whatever you want to call it. What we did for this one, or I should say what my partner Ron did for this, is instead went for more, I'll give you an example. 7 reasons why you'll stop crashing at 3 p.m. after putting this weird tab on your tongue, for example. So interesting product type, or we could even call it energy tab instead of weird. This energy tab on your tongue. I've seen a few of these starting to go around. Again, interesting product type, energy tab. You could come up with a different name with it. And then the action, in this case, putting it on your tongue, right? If it's a drink, you can say tasting. Just something that is a little bit different to just trying, right? A little bit more visual, a little bit more something that someone can imagine. And then for the subhead, really just extrapolating on this. And it's like, here's why people are action, and then the scenarios products useful. So again, if we're going off the energy tab, right? Here's why people are taking this tab before meetings, during work, or hitting the gym, for example. Now here, you can also go harder into the avatar, right? If you really wanted to. Like, here's why women over 35, here's why single women over 35 are doing XYZ action thing. If you're really, really clear what that is and to really make it more specific. And honestly, I'm saying this out loud, but this is probably something that we should probably be testing more as well. Just to see if a little bit of extra personalizing it even further can really, really help. And then for the actual body, the main things is we went with pretty much all GIFs. And this was kind of, I couldn't actually find the example to show you here. But it was some of an old listicle example that we kind of based this off of, or again, what Ron based this off of. And essentially, like, the whole listicle just had GIFs all the way down. And it kind of gives, 1, a lot of movement, 2, I feel like for the TikTok brain, just keeps younger people engaged. And interestingly, it's not, I think, not necessarily just younger people. Like, we always say younger people with TikTok brain, but realistically, like, you walk down a street, you go on public transport, like, everyone at every age now has got TikTok brain and is on this. And so I think it kind of applies to everyone. And it allows people to visually see the product a lot more, almost like a video. And it makes it feel a lot more real. So we had GIFs with product B-roll pretty much all the way down the side on the left for every single point. I also, just to be clear, like, hate alternating shit. I don't think there's any point or reason. I think it's stupid design. It just makes it harder to consume the key information that you need, which I think is going against the whole point of design when it comes to copywriting, which is to make the copy easier to understand or consume. Now, or more powerful. Anyway, so really, really simple then for the rest of it, just GIFs as well, and the core benefits. I would, in general, start as strong as you can, like with the biggest ones. And this is obviously something for you to test. Starting as strong as you can, these middle ones are naturally going to be the ones that are read the least, and then ending on the strongest. Now, in our case, we ended on an actual guarantee as the last point. So it being like, the final benefit is like, well, if you don't like it, or if it doesn't do the action that you want, if it's a supplement, if you don't actually feel the difference, you don't have to pay, etc., with whatever your guarantee is, as the nice solid point that wraps everything together. Again, these first 3 points probably the most important, and obviously number 1 being the most. For the body, I would say the main thing is, like, don't get boring. Like, don't get predictable with the format. Like, one thing that Ron did really well with this one is, like, some of them were kind of future pacing, like after this, after this, after that. Some of them are more just like if, like problem and then solution. So like, if you're noticing this, then you need this, and then tie it in. Some of them will tie them to specific ingredients. Like, you just never want to feel predictable. You want every point to be a little bit, oh, surprise, or I wouldn't have thought that they would put that there, or that's something slightly different. The moment it just starts to feel like a droning, boring pattern is when someone's going to clock out and definitely not read these last few points. Then after that, classic social proof testimonial section on the bottom. And then here's where it gets interesting, because obviously a lot of people, the kind of general thing with advertorials is people say like, oh, drive this to the PDP. And again, this is probably why this was superior for us. In the product page, again, I don't think was incredible. And so having the checkout here just meant that when they're feeling hot, this was actually recommended, to be fair, by Barry Hott, who was one of our mentors, who we got to look over this. And I think initially we might have even been taking it to the product page, and it was working decently well. And he said, oh, why don't you just try adding the checkout to the bottom, because reduces friction. If they've actually read all of these points, they're probably ready to buy and have consumed a lot of info. And so based on his advice, we then stuck this checkout down at the bottom, and this dramatically improved performance over the other versions. So that's just kind of what we run with for now. Again, it's just the classic reducing friction, right? Now, cases where I can see where just going straight to the product page is better here. One, if you have an incredible product page. Two, if the reasons are a lot shorter. Let's say if we're going for 3 reasons, 4 reasons, or 5 reasons. Probably makes a lot more sense just to go straight. The updated version of this page at the moment that we have running is actually 10 reasons. Again, classic copywriting, you probably shouldn't do that. Like in general, it's better to have odd number of reasons as it feels a little more different and specific, like 9, 7, etc. Which is why I've done 7 for this body, but at the moment running 10 and it's working well, to be honest. So again, just test everything and then just let the numbers tell you which way to go. So that's kind of a wrap on that. I've just kind of attached 3 examples here as well. This one's from IM8. This is from Manolites. I don't know, obviously IM8 and Javi Coffee here are absolutely crushing. But I just highlight it because there's just a few things I like about each. So I'm going to start actually with Javi Coffee. However you want to say it. So what I like about this one, again, I don't think this headline, it's kind of basic, kind of simple. They've also made this a little bit more, as you can see, bottom of funnel-y, right? They mentioned the actual brand in the headline here. You've got a limited time discount here, so it's pretty clear that this is immediately selling you something. But in this case, and they have like a crazy deal here, this is actually going to the PDP, right? The copy, I'm not necessarily like crazy fan of, but what I think they have done well is it's just unbelievably easy to digest. Like you come onto this page, there is almost no excess design. Like the only excess design you could say is this divider here, and that's about it. CTAs aren't like really loud in your face, so it still kind of feels bloggy. They're just these more little hyperlink texts, and they're kind of personal to each point. And you can skim this pretty easily, and you will know what this product is very fast, what it does, and what the core benefits are of it versus your regular coffee. And so that's kind of like the main thing that I want you to take away from this one, is just keeping it simple, right? Keeping it really, really basic, so that if I'm in a queue outside having on the shitter or whatever, and I'm scrolling through my phone, I get instantly what you're talking about. Now, coming on to Manolites, what I like about this one is, again, I don't know how well this is performing. This might be doing terribly. But the reason I want to share it is they're just trying something new and different. Like this, instantly, the branding feels so strong. Like if there were any other ads related to Manolites, or I'm somewhat aware of them, you would know instantly what page you're on and what product this is selling, just because of the branding, which I like. It's just a very unique feel, and it doesn't feel just a copy and paste of hundreds of other brands out there, right? And again, for this one, they're also testing a slightly different one. 3 different offers at the bottom. Haven't tested this. So yeah, again, something for you to test with the FAQs at the bottom. And then, so yeah, the one thing I want you to take from this is just be a little bit different. And again, there's not too much excess design, a little bit more, but just make it very specific to your brand with your unique feel. You don't just, I think the instinct for a lot of people is go to someone big like IM8, for example, and just copy and paste that and run that for themselves. But yeah, avoid doing that. Especially you want to use your advantage of being a lot smaller. So take everything the bigger guys do with obviously a pinch of salt. And then this IM8 one, honestly, I think this is a little bit too busy. I'd be curious how well it's doing versus the product page. And they, interestingly as well, have obviously found a similar thing because they've stuck in the checkout at the bottom here. The main thing that they've done here, they've just gotten very, again, you say these things in what they've done well, but without actually knowing, obviously, how well it's done. It's hard to say, and honestly, it looks a little bit Claude coded, like with all these little bits of text, in that they've just whipped this up with Claude. But what I like with this one is kind of the extreme specificity with the headline and the avatar. So you can see here 7 reasons GLP-1 users are adding IM8 before muscle loss and hair thinning setting. So they're naming the product, but they're keeping it very focused on the avatar, like specific user, and who they are and the problem they have, and then really, really like hitting a deep fear that is common with obviously all GLP-1 users, which is before muscle loss and a hair thinning setting. So I think it's just a very, very clever angle and way to run a listicle headline pretty much. And then they obviously go into each point here as well. And obviously these guys are absolutely crushing it. The guys running the marketing are wizards as well, and extremely good at what they do. So that is, I think, a wrap for me. What I will say is, yeah, listicles in general, I think, are a good intro into running advertorials for your brand, because advertorials in general are just really, really hard to get right, and take a lot of testing. But listicles I've found is a lot easier to hit one that works. especially if your product page isn't like insanely dialed in. Again, the big advantage, they don't feel the same as product pages. Still, a lot more people are running them now, but not an insane amount. And I have a feeling, again, this is going to be something that kind of comes in waves. Like, there's been a wave where everyone and their mum was running a listicle page to their product. And then kind of people have, I feel like, are starting to shift away and running it now a bit more straight to product page. Marsmen is a great example. A lot of their 10 reasons why listicles, I look through their ads, now instead direct to their product page rather than the actual listicle. But then again, I think what that means is if everyone shifts away, again, the edge is then in doing it again, right? Because there's less people doing it, it's a little bit more unique, and it's a classic little sales page. It's just different, and I think it's a really nice way of getting across all the benefits. And even if someone doesn't buy here, like if someone even just skims this, they have such a higher, better idea of your product than someone who hasn't. And so very, very warm audience now, market for your other bottom funnel ads to go ahead and pick up. And the final thing I wanted to just finish on, because I know that I said I'll give you an example of some of these top funnel statics. Give me 1 second. All right, so this here is Lad Bible. And these are what I mean by the top of funnel statics, right? Pardon me. Let me get you to a good height. Here. Reconstruction shows how deadly Nepal flash flood unfolded as a blah, blah, blah. This kind of format of like a big image and then kind of a simple headline like this. These are the kind of statics that have absolutely crushed it for us going to a page like this, like these. Because obviously you can, if you make this interesting, there's a lot of different ways to present this headline or sell this article, so to speak, right? In formats like this, like especially like the little circle here to add in curiosity, ring doorbell footage shows, yeah. So it's just, and it's also what people are used to consuming on Facebook or Instagram and then going ahead and clicking through. So very easy to do as well. Obviously the key part is just getting pretty weird with the actual image and making it nice attention grabbing, and then having this headline super, super tight, as well as being congruent with the page. So when I go ahead and click through, I'm not like, what the hell is this? And clicking off, I actually want to go ahead and read. So I think that is all for me. Again, a little bit of a ramble. Will be no edits in here whatsoever, as I just want to get into the rhythm of getting more and more videos out. And if you have any questions, or if you actually just want this Miro doc, let me know and I'll send it to you in the comments or something like that. But yeah, that is all for me. Have a great Friday. Enjoy your weekend, and I will see you next week.